Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome to something a little different. So, if you've never heard of them, I'm a big fan of a comedy YouTube channel called Door Monster. They used to do a lot of stuff like video game related, D&D stuff, basically, nerd culture in general, heavy quotations around that. They don't upload as regularly anymore as they used to. There was a few good years there where they did almost weekly uploads and behind the scenes and all that good stuff. Though at this point I think it's only like one or two of the original people behind it, because the rest of the cast, they went on with their lives and stuff like that. But this is the entire history of Door Monster, I guess, 10-year anniversary part 1. So I discovered Door Monster in college. And oh god. So thinking that was probably in 2012 or 2013. I can't remember a specific date. I've been a big fan of their content for years. I find them so funny, and honestly, they deserve, more. They just deserve more. So I decided, whatever little bit of traction I can send their way through my reaction, I'm going to try. But yeah, I'm very excited to get into this, because again, it's been one of those things that the 10-year anniversary video has been something I've been looking forward to for a while. So, we're actually going to get into it. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we? That music.
Alright, and before we get started, Kyle Prime has another video for us this morning. We gotta stay up to date on company policies and procedures and whatnot.
But they're barely educational. Like, most of it's just been his movie opinions and overestimating which supervillains he can beat up.
Well, I'm sure that's important somehow. Maybe you...
Yeah, so if you weren't aware, I'm guessing partially because of the whole, lack of other people to act in skits. A lot of the stuff that he's been putting out recently was, again, a couple of opinion, just funny videos about which Spider-Man villains he can beat up, which I actually really enjoyed, and also just a lot of stuff involving the multiverse and alternate versions of himself. Which, given the, for lack of a better term, storylines that have been in the past involving time travel and stuff like that, it honestly makes a lot of sense.
He's just having a meltdown. Look, he pays your bills, okay? And also he can disintegrate us or something. I don't know. He's in charge and he said to watch these, so just do it.
Seems like we should just be working on the guards themselves.
Get out.
Yeah, I forgot they were going to be making a sequel to that. And just, I'm sorry, I might be pausing a lot in the beginning of this, just explaining things, but The Guards Themselves was actually a feature-length movie they released several years ago. If I remember correctly, I think it was a college project that he then spent he spent some time just finishing up before releasing on the YouTube itself. Again, very good independent movie. It's a fun little superhero thing.
No, can we get this over with? Thank you.
Door Monster. What a long
okay. I was going to wonder what was going on with the sound there.
What started as a young lad and his desire to build a high-speed toast delivery system became an epic journey across time, space, and comedy. Every second of which, or at least the best ones, have been recorded in stone, perpetually documented in the undying medium of a YouTube playlist. But in case you don't have the 14 hours for a refresher binge watch, I was surprised too, allow me to take you on a journey.
Is that how long the binge watch playlist is? Yeah, so of course they have a huge playlist just documenting every single one of the of their skits. Is it really 14 hours long?
Through our history.
It's on his phone.
In the ancient year of 2014, the Door Monster was born. Not the channel, mind you, but the seed that would one day become the channel. Kyle, who I will refer to as I for the sake of sounding a little less pretentious, had recently graduated college and was feeling directionless. Making internet videos had been just about the only thing on his
Okay, thinking about it, probably 2012 or 2013. That's maybe a little too early. Maybe I'm thinking about maybe it was 2015 or 2016 because I remember that the channel was a respectable size by the time I got to it. So maybe that was again. I generally don't keep track of when I subscribe to channels.
As mine for years, my mind. But graduating from film school early and facing down the harsh reality that it had prepared me for absolutely nothing, the future became empty and unfulfilling. In the years prior, I had dabbled in animated and live-action comedy sketches, taking inspiration from Newgrounds artists and early YouTube filmmakers. This dabbling turned out to have far-reaching consequences. I began annoying my roommates with nonsense inventions, interfered in my own timeline, and my friend Jeffrey was harassed by this weird bearded man. One fateful Halloween, I decided to follow through on a revolutionary candy delivery system that I and my brother came up with. We used a monster puppet to pass candy through the front door of our parents' house. I filmed the whole thing and edited the video the next day because, naturally, I had a hunch that it would take off if I released it fast enough.
Which I remember seeing that video. And again, what odd front doors. Like, what? Like, where do you get doors like that to have, like, little openable windows in them like that?
That hunch, unsurprisingly, turned out to be correct, and I woke up the next morning to 500,000 views, and finally, over 1,000 YouTube subscribers. What? The lighting is too dark, guys. I had already been planning to give the YouTube thing the old post-college try at the start of the new year, so, not wanting to risk losing the momentum, I filmed a Minecraft sketch the next day and reached out to my friends to ask them to act in the videos each weekend for the next year.
Again, that Minecraft video, absolutely love it. Because it's literally just, oh, he's doing stuff in Minecraft, like crafting, like doing a crafting table, breaking down a tree, swimming up water, but he's just screaming the entire time. Because when you think about it, the stuff you can do in Minecraft is actually pretty nuts.
Videos now every week. Yay! I figured if a year wasn't enough, I could rest well knowing I had tried. I certainly didn't expect that year to turn into 10. The first year was non-stop video production. After all, I needed to catch up to Freddie Wong's numbers, but didn't even have half that much content. Thankfully, I had leftover scripts from my Newgrounds days and started churning out video game parodies. They seemed like the fastest way to get
I haven't heard in a long time.
And we might have been submitting the videos
under
a secret account, so it didn't look like self-promotion. But it worked. Our Civilization video, A Barbarian Has Captured Your Worker, managed to get 50,000 views. Those spikes in views were few and far between, but we had created a strong foundation, and the White Lightning fan base was steadily growing. Also, we were called White Lightning. That was my username back on Newgrounds, because I came up with it in middle school, and I thought it sounded very cool. Between November...
Hey, I mean, same thing. Well, for me, Fort Master. When did I come up with Fort Master? So I came up with Fort Master just after I discovered Team Fortress, which was probably just maybe a year or two after it came out. When did Team Fortress 2 come out? It was like 2007, wasn't it? Yeah, 2007. So I'll assume like 2008, 2009. So I'll say like probably 2008 because I remember discovering it before I hit high school, and I went to an elementary school that went from kindergarten to all the way to grade 8. So yeah, I'm going to assume probably made mine around the same time. Though I made mine because I assumed I would be the master at Team Fortress 2. So. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Of 2014 to the start of 2015, our selection of content began to expand. We saw the introduction of community comments, a weekly behind-the-scenes and comment response video. Along with that were a number of wonderful accomplishments, and also some headaches that I had no fault in causing, including the first Civilization World Congress video, fantastic, the introduction of prominent cast and crew members, great, the KGB showing up, scary but cool. I have no connection with them. The return of a certain bearded vagrant, more time travel shenanigans caused by a certain Kyle trying to clean up their first time machine mess purchased from IKEA, which got them stuck in a time loop with Rachel. Very bad. A Dell laptop with a British accent that Kyle assembled for some reason.
And the computer was voiced by Squire.
I assembled for some reason. Annoying. Some of our most notable moments of attention that year came from our first Paradox Studios video, City Skylines vs. Sim City, which wasn't sponsored yet, but a video on Kerbal Space Program did so well that it was regularly talked about in a Kerbal podcast at the time. A well-thought-out Avatar video involved creating my first photo scan of Ian, a digital monstrosity we dubbed DoodleCon, that once again, because of a certain Kyle, escaped the confines of its MP4 file and started secretly appearing in all the other videos that year. Also that summer, comedian Aziz Ansari released his book Modern romance, in which for some reason he references the Door Monster video. It's not really related to the channel's history, but it's still weird that it happened. This was also the...
Wait, I'm sorry, what? Really? I mean, again, not gonna fault, you know, them getting a shout out, but that's weird. Okay.
year that our Patreon was founded. Even behind the scenes, White Lightning was hard at work. Ian and I got interviewed by The Weeble, creator of all those songs you used to bother your parents with. And at the end of the year, I took an entire month to finish editing what had been my senior project in film
here we
school,
go, yeah.
a full-length superhero movie called The Guards Themselves. I crammed all of the VFX, sound mixing, final editing tweaks, and marketing into 1 month, all while not missing a single week of uploading videos, still working a full-time job, and I also did 4 community comments episodes for it, and I wasn't even on drugs. How did I even do that? How did I do that?
I would, you know, from the little bit of experience I've had with things like that, where I've just spent an entire day just editing nonstop. I mean, granted, no, not comparable to that really at all, but still, probably just, you know, excitement, a little bit of adrenaline, just, you know, wanting to see what you've created go out, and so your brain is just like, it's turning off the signal saying, oh, I'm tired, you know, rest.
After all of that, I somehow also made 2 more super VFX heavy videos, went to England for a personal trip, and then released the year 1 finale, where we cleaned up the mess caused by the escape to DualCon by stopping him from existing in the first place.
God, I remember
through
that
more
one.
time travel shenanigans. That year was an incredible experience, and one I will cherish forever. And if you were lucky enough to experience it with us, that is a bond we will always share, because I probably remember you from the comments, unless you're like me and you never comment on anything.
Oh, God. You know, I'm gonna say this. I tried so hard so many times to get in those community comment videos, and I actually did a couple of times. I will say I probably had a little bit of an unhealthy obsession at the time. A little bit. So much so I think I made a playlist specifically for the community comments videos that I was in. Let me just double check that. Yeah, my community comments. I was in 6 of them. Oh, never mind. I was in 4 of them, and then there was another channel, and then I was in 2 of the Drakinifel's naval videos.
Forge Master, do you actually own a canoe? Forge Master says, if you can, donate $1 a day to help these poor individuals that can't distinguish video games from real life. I was upset at this one because that's clearly the perfect Patreon fish to put at the end of that video, and I didn't think of it. Okay, if Marvel doesn't make a new hero named Critical Mass, you guys have to make a sequel to this sketch involving him. Everybody really liked that name. That was Ian's part.
It really is a good name.
4 things. Getting a little bit greedy there with your comment real estate.
Well, if you only have 1 shot at community comments, I'm gonna check your name off and never read it ever again. Isn't that right, Berto?
1, this is an awesome Christmas present. Thanks, guys. 2, in a world with superheroes, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often, given what some people will do to regular celebrities. 3, the store owner looks more bored than anything, which, given the fact he's in a comic book universe, makes sense. And 4, how much would it cost for you guys to make another minigun and ship it to Canada? I can pay.
I was a little obsessed at the time, unfortunately.
If you're new, and that sounded like a lot, buckle up. We started out year 2 the same way, doing the Door Monster puppet again, but after that, we felt it was time for change. Weekly sketches were simply unsustainable, and in full transparency, that movie editing stunt nearly killed me, so I began a long tradition of failing to rework our upload schedule in a way that would require less effort. One of the big ways we tried to shake things up was expanding and changing the type of content we made.
Burnout, what are you gonna do?
Comments, I alternated between sketches, behind-the-scenes extras, and a sit-down talk show of sorts where Ethan, JP, and I dressed as spies and discussed random things, and we called it Counterintelligence. The idea was to try a longer format that still kept the same talking to the audience feel as community comments, but would take the edge off the sketch production because it was easier to make. I was going for a vibe like Good Mythical Morning, and the spy theme was because I had just really gotten into the show Chuck, and was trying to justify the name White Lightning HQ. I was starting to feel the name sounded something like what a douchebag YouTuber would name his channel about playing Call of Duty and objectifying women. And whoops, that existed. There was a guy named White Lightning Kyle who showed up in all the YouTube results before us. Ultimately, Counterintelligence didn't quite work out, because I guess it was a mishmash of too many things, which resulted in it feeling neither casual or produced enough. After trying to reshape it for a few months, it ultimately got canned. But it was a fun era, and we had an awesome intro animation, and the last couple episodes were easily my favorite, where Ian wrote some fun games for us to play, although he turned kind of evil. Good time. Nobody remembers. Wonder where that Kyle got to, huh? In March of 2016, we hit 10,000 subscribers. Not an officially recognized milestone by YouTube, but big enough for me to make a week of videos celebrating the event. I made 5 videos talking in detail about how some sketches were made, and released them during the week I took my second trip overseas to Ireland. At this point, I was still working at a full-time job while living at home, and I would save up and spend all of my money to sign up for these guided trips to other countries, because I didn't know how long I was going to have the means to do that. No regrets, they were great. When I came back, Ricky and I started a live stream podcast, and I went back to the weekly upload schedule. Sketch-wise, we kicked off the year strongly with the FTL video. Other notable sketches were
We Demand Whales. Oh god, and the FTL one, I loved that one. So funny. But if I remember correctly, I think this was the year they renamed themselves to Door Monster, and I think this is the year that I discovered them and started watching their stuff, because I remember them changing their name, and the funny thing was, I think I literally subscribed just before they did this, because I don't actually ever remember them actually being called White Lightning HQ. I think I clicked on the button and didn't really pay attention to what it was called. It's only like a little while later that I saw the feed come, the subscription video come up, and it was saying, "Oh hey, we changed our name," and it's like, wait, you did?
We Demand Whales, Spider-Man, That Time I Was Bob Ross, That Time I Revealed I Was Colorblind, and another Kerbal sketch we got to do with Scott Manley. We also learned that Jeffrey might be immortal. Jury's still out. Kyle was gonna kill him, but he kept appearing after that. Consistency has never been our strong suit. Anyway, we finally made our most popular—
Hey, just say that Kyle did in a different dimension. Who knows? I mean, you're already dealing with the multiverse. I mean, you can literally say anything. For the reason I'm so tired of the multiverse in mainstream media.
Video ever, and then decided to change our name.
Yeah, here we are.
White Lightning, we're getting rid of it.
You see, the channel was growing quickly. The spy thing had kind of died out, and White Lightning sounded increasingly like it belonged in a different corner of YouTube, so I decided if I was going to completely change our branding, now was the time. I looked back on everything we'd done so far and chose to name the channel after the burst of inspiration that started it all, Door Monster. By the end of the channel year, aka Halloween, we had already doubled our subscriber count and hit 20,000. I started publishing full behind-the-scenes videos using extra footage from on set, and in the last month, we restarted community comments again. In the second year-end finale, Jeffrey and Joey faced off against that British Dell laptop from earlier, who had trapped me and the others inside of an alternate dimension and made wild promises about future videos, most of which came true, actually. Huh. Oh, and I started hanging out with this girl. She showed up in some videos. Might join the crew soon. Another year, another Door Monster puppet. Our new camera broke and we had to go back to the old one for a while. We made the Team Rocket video, and Civ 6 came out. Then came a chapter that not many know of, unless you happen to be actively watching the channel in December of 2016. Someone, not me of course, signed us up for our first multi-channel network. After big promises of working closely with us, helping grow the channel, etc., it was called Power TV. And it was run by a child named Alex Edson. I had started the sign-on process, but realized that the amount of money they would be taking was preposterous, and changed my mind. Unfortunately, the Kyle in charge of that decision was also a child, and had stupidly already given them access to the entire channel. Alex claimed I had signed an unbreakable legal contract by agreeing to some terms on their website during onboarding, and refused to release the channel until the 2-year period had passed.
Yeah, I don't remember this, though.
They were a massive scam, doing this to small creators all over the site. So I made a video explaining the situation, which he did not like, and suddenly wanted to negotiate. He promised to release the channel if I signed something saying I would stop talking about him and Power TV. It was a smart deal to take, and so I of course said no. Instead, I made another video and then called his parent company, which in this case was probably literal, because seriously, the boy was 19 years old and calling himself a CEO. To my absolute relief, they released the channel, no questions asked, and Alex repeatedly copyright striked my videos talking about him until they finally got taken down. And everyone but me forgot. But he's still out there now, doing the same stuff. That Christmas, we hit 50,000 subscribers.
Some people are still talking about him.
Civ 5 game with fans, kept making sketches, including our first D&D one, and even introduced a live stream D&D gameplay series run by Ian called Altered Egos. Finally, we moved from Austin, where we had been.
God, Altered Egos. I forgot about that. Again, that was one of those things. I'm very bad with live streams. Like, I know there's like been a couple of series of like D&D inspired games or tabletop inspired games that I've followed for like a while, and then I just, for some reason, just instantly fell off for some reason, even though I still liked watching them. And I go back to them, and the ones that I do remember, I go back to them and just completely forget where I left off. And again, with this one, like the fantasy world inspired superheroes, that was awesome. Now I'm thinking about it, probably going to have to go back and rewatch those, because I can't remember what that was about. Ah.
And to San Antonio, where we hadn't been.
Got all the computers, got a new desk, the guards themselves poster, a board full of super special secret ideas. This is where I'd put a play button. If I had one!
Allison and Rachel started making more regular appearances. Alicia...
You know, I'm going to be completely honest. When I hit 1,000 subscribers, I looked online, and there are of course, people, like, making unofficial play buttons for all sorts of levels. And I legitimately was contemplating buying 1,000 subscriber play button that looked like they 3D printed it or stuff like that. Honestly, I'll probably save that for if or when I hit 10,000 subscribers. Just buy a knockoff play button or something. And granted, I can understand why YouTube doesn't officially recognize that as a milestone, just because of the number of channels that have around 10,000 subscribers. Like, it would cost them a lot of money, specifically because I don't think you have to pay for your first one. You only have to pay for, like, replacements if they get broken or something.
Today was there for 2 seconds. We also brought back those great spy characters and White Lightning HQ with their own little recurring but short-lived series about the downfall of the internet, which ended with Spy Kyle realizing how futile everything was and vowing to kick Doormonster back into shape, even if he had to do it all by himself. There wasn't a video about that, but it's what happened. Finally, we released Diplomancy. It was supposed to just be another upload, but it caught traction, and before we knew it,
100,000.
we hit our first actual YouTuber milestone. To celebrate, we did an entire week of big productions. Civ 6 Theological Combat, an archive footage behind the scenes video, a crew trivia game, a huge community comments, a return to the guards themselves with our first in-universe short, and the long-anticipated Self-Fulfilling Idiocy 3, where the original Kyle built an IKEA TARDIS and messed up the timeline again. Once again, not my fault.
Because he's a Time Lord, yeah.
I had the right idea to try and consolidate the numerous Kyles rapidly spreading out over the timeline and into alternate dimensions. Unfortunately, we never should have done it this way. He was messy, and he ended up resurrecting Doodle Khan and the Russians, and sent Rachel off on her whatever she's doing, and the laptop was back, and he didn't even kill it properly. The screen is not the weak spot of a laptop, obviously, and then he died or regenerated into Jeffrey or something. Whatever. This kind of stuff is why Kyle Corp exists. Following that, we were gifted a 100K celebration video by fans that we also published to the main channel, and it still makes me cry every time I watch it. During
that video, oh god, you don't know how many regrets I have with that video. So you see, at that time, and this was probably just before, like, this was like maybe a couple of months before YouTube removed the ability to directly message other YouTube channels. And me being, you know, rather naive and also just not curious, I never really, you know, looked into that. I never saw if anybody, you know, messaged me. And what do you know? The person organizing that had sent me a message about, oh, you want to send us a clip so you'll be in the video and stuff like that. And what do you know? I only discovered the message like a little while after the cutoff date, before they had to get all the clips together and for editing and to send it off to Kyle and stuff like that. And I kick myself every time I think about it, even to this day. It's sort of it's that similar thing to where you look at Markiplier and he has those old videos where, like, for his old, like, what was that, for like his 25 million subscriber milestone or something like that, like a bunch of people, they ended up singing him a song and sending him a video, you know, he cried at it, you know, it was very famous. And I'm so jealous of those people, and partially angry at myself for my own laziness, not checking, you know, the whole message feature, that I could have been a part of that and I wasn't. I hate myself for that.
During the rest of the year, we casually tossed out what would be the third most viewed video on the channel, Patient Gamer, Raised by Video Games, the D&D Tavern video, several fun Halloween ones, and another TGT short. We introduced the Marvel Cops. Allison and I did our first fan meetup in the Northeast.
I forgot about that.
And we closed the year with the most
Marvel
convoluted
Cops
finale yet, where that bearded guy and a KGB agent lured yet another Kyle, not only all over the time stream, but down into film space itself. I'd like to take a moment to address our shareholders. Kyle Corp promised, and we have delivered. Never again have we dealt with a security breach of this magnitude. The intruders from that day were contained, aside from the entity, but they are presumed
The
dead,
hobo,
and
yeah.
you should ignore any and all rumors of potential sightings. We learned a valuable lesson that day, and access has been limited to one door far below Kyle Corp Tower.
The door monster.
Rest assured, the singular unending narrative remains secure. Welcome back. If you're not a shareholder of K-Corp, you should be regaining consciousness now.
Wait, does that mean I'm a shareholder?
Ian and I had always wanted to create a longer narrative, be it film, a web series, or really whatever we felt we could manage. Making videos for Door Monster had given us a larger access to resources and experience, and we felt it was time to reach for something more. We'd also been spending several chicken wing fueled nights discussing all the ways we could do it better than Hollywood, so we were understandably confident. We just had to decide what we'd do. What we ended up on was Skyvault, a series idea that we'd been working on even before the Door Monster video. Skyvault was a sci-fi Texas setting and a Team Avatar-esque main cast of kids who could travel from planet to planet via proprietary Thor laser technology. We started year 4 by announcing the 3-month plan, in which we would publish fewer but high production sketches for a while as we prepared for the series. Altered Egos was put on indefinite hiatus. Whoops, and over the next few months we made XCOM, Civ 6 vs EU4, Spider-Man again, Fallout, House Hunters, Westworld, and more D&D. Allison and I went on our first ever business trip to Great Britain, where we filmed videos with the man who sounded suspiciously like that laptop, and also the Yogscast, who I was a longtime fan of, so that was awesome. We did a bunch of meetups across England, including being hosted by T-Powered Theater and meeting Burnt L, White Lightning's first ever fan, who I really hope is still in the comments. I miss you. Upon our return, we began one of the hardest months of my life, the fundraising process for Skyvault. We set a goal for $150,000 on Kickstarter, where if you don't reach your goal, you get nothing. And then we streamed every day for an entire month. The whole crew got in on it. We had funding trackers on stream at all times. Ian hosted Starfinder. Allison and Rachel baked a cake I can still taste in my nightmares. And in that same month, we learned that there are more of these guys. We recently uncovered several boxes of plushy ones, and they seem to be alive, so volunteers are requested for research. I then moved back to Austin for the remainder of 2018 to write and film Skyvault, which ended up being a full-length pilot episode with an entire crew from Austin's local film scene, and some incredible actors that we spent weeks picking out. All the while, we continued putting out sketches, albeit at a much slower pace than we did in the past, including Bad Dice and Lola Needs Attention. I worked with Weeble and Dom Farah. We hit 250,000 subscribers with another fan-made video that made me cry. We tried to trademark Door Monster as a company name and got harassed by Monster Energy until we gave up because it wasn't worth $10,000, and we got some big equipment upgrades out of the Skyvault production. I also finally released a Fable 3 experience. Who saw that coming? Nobody. Nobody did. I did it entirely without warning, and I'll do it again. After the pilot production was finished, we made some
Can't wait for Fable 4 experience.
To celebrate old times. Shot a simple self-deprecating finale video where Matt played me, turned the Door Monster puppet a weird brown color, and I got engaged and bought a house back in San Antonio. Year 5 started with community comments number 100 and some cameos from a bunch of past actors. I dove into editing the Skyvault pilot while we broke in the new house with Home Inversion and Psychomachia. This was also the year of the X-Files video, Red Dead Redemption with Squire, and the Luigi Salute. It's worth noting, according to Kyle Corp's historical record department, that Kyle fragmentation may have begun around this period, possibly earlier. They're projecting backwards from the first observed multi-Kyle anomalies, but our data is still incomplete. Regardless, the primary and probably
I'm sorry, the talk about Skyvault kind of set me into a weird mood. Because I specifically remember thinking to myself at one point that Skyvault was the reason that we stopped getting Door Monster as much. Now, a little bit of spoiler, because, I was there watching it, but they tried pushing Skyvault as, the pilot for, a Netflix series. Didn't work out, and Kyle himself eventually talked about how the whole process kind of burnt him out on, filmmaking and stuff like that. And at which point he then, after some self-reflection, realized that, making stuff on YouTube just for fun was a lot more enjoyable than the whole, actual film production scene. But I couldn't help but feel at the time that because of that, that was the first big kick that kind of shattered Door Monster and it was kind of what left it in its state currently at the time. Now, granted, I know that was kind of childish. Again, a big part was a lot of the other people, moving on with their lives and, but at the same time, it's just that past bitterness towards Skyvault, even after watching it, because it was a very good pilot. I'm upset it wasn't picked up or anything. That would have, actually think about it, Skyvault would have made me buy a Netflix subscription. Honestly, it would have. But that past bitterness towards it is just, it's left me in a kind of awkward state around it whenever the topic comes up.
The original Kyle started to get a little burnt out on sketches around this time. The whole Skyvault production ended up being pretty demoralizing and not what he expected. Not to mention the recently destabilized timeline by TARDIS guy over there. Anyway, while he rested, I decided to dabble in some longer form videos. I released How to Be a Successful YouTuber to surprisingly positive feedback, and started the Black Pants Film School videos where I gave tips from my experience in low-budget filmmaking. Over the summer, I finished editing the Skyvault pilot and left it up to our producers to start shopping it around in the hopes of getting it picked up by a streaming studio. It was honestly kind of a slow year, that is until Ricky moved next door and kicked everybody into gear. We did some fun Halloween videos, made a weekly production plan, and decided we weren't done with the big projects, but this time we wanted more control. Ian and I started on a script for a sequel to The Guards themselves, we raised a much more modest budget through Patreon, and we briefly returned to Austin to do the Doormonster puppet one last time.
Oh god.
We started the next year off with a visit from the professor of Solarian Community College. While Ricky and Ian started taking on more of the production process, we soon hit a bit of a roadblock. 6 years in, a brand new, completely unique miniature film production every single week was not going to be sustainable. In short, I was running out of ideas. I also wanted to make things more of a group effort, and my interest had shifted a little, thankfully in line with Ricky and Ian's, and so we collectively decided to adjust our content and do a primarily D&D and tabletop gaming channel, with new types of videos in addition to comedy sketches. For Doormonster 2020, we brought back Altered Egos with full production quality alongside a new campaign by Ricky called Kilnspark. We introduced Guest Quest, a one-on-one, fully edited series of one-off dice-based role-playing sessions, and a dedicated series of D&D sketches called Natural One. Ian started his own show, There's Rules for That, where he created popular and absurd characters using the mechanics of various tabletop RPGs. It was some good stuff.
Oh my god, I forgot there were rules for that. I missed that. I remember Again, you gotta love anniversary videos like this, because they remind you of all the stuff that you miss. Oh god.
We were going all in. We focused on community engagement, making our Discord more publicly available. Behind the scenes, we even started
I'm also in that, though. With the exception of my Discord server and another Discord server I'm in where I have a lot of friends, like, I post virtually nothing in these servers. I'm very much like a lurker 95% of the time.
Attended PAX South and met a bunch of board game creators. Allison and I went to England one last time for VidCon, where we met Rustage. And then, while we were overseas, we kept hearing about this weird virus quickly destroying Italy.
COVID, yeah.
And so we left early. At this point, our records get kind of fuzzy. Promising though it was, the new production schedule slammed to a halt with the start of quarantine. We released the rest of what we had built up and figured out how to keep making Ian's show, but not much else. Years passed in the span of months, time unraveled and lost all meaning. Our experts believe this was the beginning of the full Kyle fragmentation. To try and keep our days straight, me and Allison started a daily, low-production live morning show called OK We're Up. The idea was just to give ourselves a reason to get out of bed and help us stay slightly sane, but it turned into the longest-running podcast-type content we've ever done, and was actually kind of an incredible experience. We got to talk to fans and Matt every day, and it made a period of time that would have otherwise been a dark stain on our memory into something pretty nice to look back on. Although we may not have succeeded in the whole staying sane endeavor based on our futurism podcast made with zero knowledge of science.
Yeah, but we're talking about turning into dinosaurs, so do you want to talk about that? God, like, which way are we going with it?
Wait, what channel is that on? I completely missed that.
I was contacted by Paradox Interactive to make a video for Stellaris as part of an upcoming ad campaign. I was desperate for anything to make and had never received such a great offer before. Seriously, they've never once stopped me from doing whatever I want. They've genuinely just been so awesome. I, of course, went overboard and made a full green screen Star Trek inspired production with multiple guest voice actors, including Jack DeCina, who played Sokka on Avatar: The Last Airbender. Again,
really?
Not significant. Just crazy that it's a true sentence. Along with this, I started properly learning how to use Blender, a skill that would develop into an absolute necessity, a hope for future productions, and a terrifying power. For the rest of 2020, Ian and Ricky kept producing Natural One, and There's Rules for That, and I kept working on increasingly elaborate Paradox videos, including, for some reason, a musical? It was a weird time. All while not seeing each other or anyone and slowly going crazy until September, when I just couldn't take it anymore and moved back to Austin into a big shared house with some family members who also quickly ended up being on the channel. At the the end of this interminable year, we finally publicly released the Skyvault pilot that at this point I had learned was not going to be picked up by anybody, because that is not now, nor has it ever been, how the film industry works. And to make myself feel better, I made a Phasmophobia video that went super viral everywhere. For Quarantine Christmas, with everyone still trapped inside, we hosted a handful of Christmas Day live streams, along with Rustage and Remy from the Yogscast. By 2021, Ricky and Ian completely took over writing and shooting the regular sketches, with Ethan doing all the editing. They made videos on Magic the Gathering, Genshin Impact, No Man's Sky, Survivor, plus more D&D rules lawyers, introducing Adam to the cast. If it weren't for them, the channel would have collapsed right there. I have to be honest, I don't know a lot about what happened on the main channel this year because I wasn't paying close attention. You see, I was busy in the background, starting on the long process of cleaning up a giant mess and watching all of you majorly drop the ball.
Oh, God.
Me? See, the Kyle that had been primarily running the channel just passed out in 2021. Deep coma. Never seen anything like it. He just shut down. Turns out he wasn't the real Kyle and his brain couldn't handle that level of pressure. This is probably a good time to review the hierarchy of Kyles as we currently understand it. At the very bottom of the pyramid, there are the Copy Kyle copies, a horrible digital abomination that at least one of the Kyles introduced to the rest of the crew, along with a couple other sketches on the Door Monster Studio channel. CKCs are good for manual labor, but they're mostly dumb and they just bump into things a lot. No attempts at self-replication have yet been observed, but they have been seen organizing into groups. The new protocol is simply to eliminate them on sight. Above them are the Copy Kyles, physically accurate replicas, but always with a two-dimensional personality and poor reasoning skills. They make good office workers. And finally, above those...
Well, okay. I mean, do you really want to be so... for lack of a better word, blunt with your underlings?
We have the Kyles. They may all seem roughly equal in sophistication, and among them should be the real one. The ones who aren't the original can sort of merge into a more powerful Kyle, like me.
What?
One theory is the original Kyle can only be reformed by combining all of these top-level Kyles. Anyway, in 2021, we also did a 2-day
Jeez, talk about the Door Monster lore. I did not see that coming.
Stellaris live stream with Paradox and other gaming YouTubers where we stayed in character as the Zoomans from multiple different locations. I actually absorbed that hive mind guy. At the end of the year, I finally sold my San Antonio house, ending that chapter of being an adult. I did everything I was supposed to, it just didn't work. It's year 8, and Kyle woke up, that one who went into a coma and didn't cut his hair for some reason. His first appearance was aptly the long rest video, and he started doing behind-the-scenes visual effects stuff over on the studio channel. Ian and Ricky continued running the main channel up until April of 2022, but the YouTube algorithm had become too constraining for the channel to maintain the full salaries of multiple people. Behind the scenes, the company had to be majorly downsized. People were turning 30 left and right, and most of the crew started moving on to their own endeavors anyway. Around the beginning of 2022, Kyle made a trip to Tellurian Community College to visit the professor, and, fun trivia, made the intro for his show, Shuffle Up and Play. Taking inspiration from the professor's setup, Kyle returned to restructure his own home into an office and restarted sketch production with Matt, Allison, and Ethan. This era saw the rise of visual effects sketches, like that pool one, and the one where Matt kicks me through a window, plus sophisticated gamers, Stardew Valley, The Great British Bake Off with Rustage, RimWorld, The Last of Us, a lot of really good ones actually. We started a video podcast called Door Monster's Tiny Table that ran for 7 episodes, revisited community comments, and made a bunch of TikToks. Finally, that long hair Kyle ran into some robot from another dimension and used the old IKEA watch to planeswalk to Mirrodin and then died. We've had some reports of continued activity post-death, which is confusing, but since he's not even in this reality, we're considering that tied up. Ethan appeared one last time in Barbarian Clan Council and then also died off-screen and descended to Valhalla.
Again, all these memories, and curse the YouTube algorithm. At the same time, I mean, you have to be thankful for it. I mean, like, my channel comparatively exploded from what it was once I started doing reactions. But the fact that, you know, stuff like Door Monster isn't as profitable anymore, like, it hurts me. I don't know how many, like, days were just made so much better during college and the years afterwards, where it was purely just because, oh hey, a Door Monster video is out, let's watch it. And, you know, that being said, the entire catalog of Door Monster, it's still there. I'll still, you know, go on and, like, go through and watch some of my favorite videos, you know, from time and time again. Because, you know, they're still good to this day. But that's the problem with YouTube. Like, the algorithm isn't designed to favor a specific kind of content. but just the fact that it exists causes a certain type of content to be favorable. I mean, I say this every time there's a paradigm shift with the algorithm. Like, I remember the days when, you know, Markiplier and other gaming YouTubers were the top, and then they changed it, and it's changed like 3 or 4 times since then. God, I miss those days. I really do. Just the culture of YouTube was different.
After the disappearance and probable death of the last functional Kyle, this company implemented a total lockdown policy, capturing and detaining any remaining entities and establishing Kyle Corp's foothold as the sole producer of Door Monster content. This caused a brief lull in production, but by the beginning of 2023, we came back with 2 big Paradox videos, Age of Wonders and Crusader Kings the movie trailer. That spring, me, Matt, and Allison shot a
one. I remember that one. Honestly, my favorite clip of that was just the horse-drawn carriage flying across the path. I don't know how many times I rewatched that part just because of how funny it was.
Short film currently in post-production that you'll soon be seeing more of. Kyle
Really?
Corp finally went public with Into the Kyleverse when I found one of the most troublesome Kyles on record, suspected to be the original IKEA artificer and perpetrator of the grilled cheese paradox.
Oh no.
What is that? This rogue Kyle was
What
detained
is
alone
that?
in our highest security sketch chamber. Since then, our facilities have been producing mostly nonsense, although a few of their products have been published to the main channel, like Shove, The Cozy Gamer, and More Phasmophobia. Most of their efforts have simply contributed to the generation of pure creative energy. For the holidays last year, we did a check-in video with the rest of the crew, and the biggest new productions in 2024 have been my own personal video essays, where I've shared my thoughts on superheroes, writing, and fictional romance. And with that, you are entirely up to date on the history of our channel and this company. Congratulations. It was a long journey, but we got there. One uncertain year stretched into one incredible decade. And on the eve of Door Monster's 10-year anniversary, we are proud to announce that those 10 years will never end. That's right. This timeline will be forever set in stone, unchangeable by the whims of irresponsible time travel or retconning, thanks to the completion of Kyle Corp's newest and greatest technology, the singular, unending narrative. Patent pending. It doesn't overlap with Monster Energy Drink in any way we check. With the sun securely in place atop Kyle Corp Tower, you can rest assured that we will all live forever. Thank you for all your hard work. And here's to another 10 years. Alright. Looks like that's it. Everybody get to work? Are we the villains? Get out.
Oh God, all the memories. I mean, I know, you know, stuff, I know Door Monster's, you know, golden age, if you want to call it, is over. And at this point, they're just sort of puttering along. It just, in, you know, happy, I don't want to say irrelevance, just existence, just putting out, like, I think their, what was it? I think their, their Patreon just hit, like, $4,000 or $5,000 recently? What was it? Yeah, 5,000 right there in October. And I'm so happy of them. Like, $5,000 a month. Like, that covers groceries alone. And so again, if I had the spare income, I would be I would be supporting them too. I unfortunately can't at the moment. Kyle and basically everybody else that's ever been in Door Monsters, if you, for whatever reason, stumble across my little video, just thank you for, like, the many, many years of just quality content that you've been putting out. Honestly, it has brought just so much joy and entertainment, and I really do hope that, you know, you're around and you're still producing stuff for at least another 10 years. Honestly, if that was the case, you have to know we're in the best timeline. So, but yeah, this is still part 1. So that I assume there's going to be a part 2 to this, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing that. So, yeah, as I said before, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video link to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.